This is Signal and Noise, bringing clarity to data, tech, and AI.
Possible Miami 2026. We just saw a beautiful rainbow, 180 degrees over probably one of the better views of Miami that I've ever seen. And from Miami, yeah, Sebastian Pinzon, right?
I've never seen this view, and I live here 10 years.
Yeah, and so when you got somebody from Miami coming and looking out, I wish we could show the audience here. It's pretty spectacular because you can see the entire from the beach to the canal. What is the canal called?
You see Brickell, which is our
Yeah.
financial district. You can also see the ocean, and then you can see the canal. Basically, this is the main part of Miami. The only part that's not visible out of here is Wynwood.
Yeah,
Because they don't have such like big buildings.
yeah.
But you guys are, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Impressed.
This is it, and we're thanks to Ignicio who has this suite, and we're doing some work with them, and they decided to host Signal and Noise, and so
Big shout out to those guys.
yeah,
Yay.
yeah, exactly. So I've just gotten to know Sebastian over the last 15 minutes, and great guy. I'm already getting really good vibes. A Colombiano, that went to school in Canada. You mentioned,
Yeah. So
right?
Really great. In Bogota, I finished high school, then I moved to Canada when I was 18. I live in a really small town in British Columbia called Kamloops, BC.
Yeah, that must have been a bit of a culture
It
shock.
was crazy, because the dorms you share with 3 other people you never met.
Yeah,
And funniest story, I met some of the guys, one of my best friends in college. He was coming from Pemberton. That is this town, I think it's like 3,000 people.
yeah.
So it was really crazy. And then you see all these hippies that kind of like in the time of Vietnam,
Yeah.
they run away from the States and they went to British Columbia.
Yeah. It's set their own little commune.
Yeah. No, the Canadians are great. I think my sister lives in Nanaimo still. She's the one that is selling the cacao I gave you.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he brought some cacao that we're gonna make some hot tea this morning with. And so Avo, we were talking a little bit about that. There's a couple of different topics that I think we could cover that'll be really interesting for our audience. And Avo does basically AEO, which is AEO-GEO, which is kind of your next generation AI driven either answer engine or generative engine optimization. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing around that, and we can kind of
Look, everybody that works in marketing knows that word of mouth is where it's at. That's what really influenced the moment of truth. The moment.
Yes.
What you're gonna find.
Yeah.
And word of mouth is evolving. And guess what? It's not coming from your friends. It's coming from a bot.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean, chatbots in a sense are a kind of a word of mouth mechanism where you're getting immediate feedback.
One,
Yeah.
which a lot of knowledge in the back, right? So yeah, it hallucinates, yes, but like let's be honest, 99% of the time it's gonna be right. I'm better than any of your friends.
Yeah.
So we help brands understand how they're showing up. If they're showing up, are they showing up with the right things, or AI is making things up for them?
Yeah, and sometimes people don't know how to manage that system, and they don't know really where AI is pulling stuff, and so they can be completely misrepresented, right, based on some sort of legacy documentation or PR or information online.
So there's basically, the market leaders.
Yeah,
What you watch out for is like they're probably already in AI responses. Are you being shown the way you want? Are you being, like if your prices are there, are they the right prices? Also for the people that are not as known, small brands, are you even showing up, right?
Yeah.
And then what we do is, first of all, we spend a good time understanding your business to then develop a strategy of what to track.
Yeah.
The reality is there's a million companies that do AEO tracking.
Yeah.
But what really matters is what you track, right? Because you can track any question, but if it's a question that's not related to the business or your objective, you're going to be wasting money.
Yeah.
So it's good to that's the first step.
Yeah. And tracking, meaning you're tracking the questions that if you're a B2B company, if you're a B2C company, you're tracking the questions that people are asking that are resulting in answers that include your
So,
brand, your product, your service. And so you want to optimize around what's driving the most actions from
So I'll give you an example, tangible example. Let's say you're already buying ads on Google Ads on search.
Yeah.
And you already know what are the keywords that are bringing you the most sales if you sell online. What we do is we get those keywords and then we transform them into prompts because we know that's the intentionality you want to be on, right? It's going to be an exact ROI.
Like natural language prompts.
Right.
That people,
So what we do is we leverage your first party data from your current campaigns, from your customer service support. What are your customers asking you? Let's not reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Reddit threads, online communities to understand what it's worth tracking, but also understand your marketing objectives, right?
Yeah.
If you, for some reason, had a new rebranding and there's a new thing that you want your brand to be associated with, well, we'll track that.
Yeah.
So it really depends. I think it's very, our approach is more consultancy tech enabled.
Yep.
Rather than just a solution that's going to sell service like SEMrush or Href or any of those guys.
Yeah.
Like we think that the strategy behind it really matters. Technology, it's always going to be technology.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend yesterday how our industry, although there's a lot of tech, we love these events because we connect with people, man. That's what really sell.
Yeah.
And if we're not connecting with people in real life.
Yeah, we call it the IRL in real life, right? Which has really come back, right? And it's sort of after COVID, and people are amped to be here. There's a lot of interaction, right? So back to that the AEO SEO. I mean, you mentioned in our conversation before the pod that it's 80% of it is really SEO,
right?
Fundamentally,
so
from a technical perspective.
Yeah, from a technical perspective, if you've never done SEO well, like you got to start there.
Yeah,
like the way that AI searches actually just similar to Google. The difference is that the AI actually is only one response. It's not a list of links.
Yep.
It synthesized. Like imagine that it would read the top 10, top 20 things on Google and then read it and say, okay, based on what I read, this is the response.
Yep.
So the first step is technicality on SEO. I'm not going to bore people in this.
Yeah.
It's because you can go and look it up online.
Yeah, but I think what it's critical for people to understand that it's not something that's wildly new. You're building on the same foundation, and your company is taking what is fundamentally a search strategy and then taking that and transforming that, transmuting whatever into a prompt strategy, right? Which is
technically speaking, there's one difference, and it's that every AI engine has its own bot.
Yeah,
and there's different bots. There's the training bot, which is a new model that's going to be released that goes and scrapes the internet.
Yep.
And then trains the bot.
Yeah.
Those bots, as you're a publisher, I will block those bots.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a publisher, I don't want these guys to train their data on my stuff and then give me no credit, no money, no nothing.
Yeah.
So if you're a brand, probably you can just allow it, right?
Yep.
And then you have the user bot, which is the most important because it's when you ask the question in real time and AI needs to go and search the web and look for your content.
Yeah.
That's the one you want to have allowed because that's the moment that you're going to be part of the answer.
Yeah.
The way it is.
And then you've got to have some sort of governance and control over the content that is going to be surfaced when the user bot is doing those searches, right?
So that's it's similar to SEO, right? Because when you get indexed in Google, you got to submit your sitemap, the type of things you want to allow, disallow, because there's certain things that are like probably private or like they're user only, or there's gated parts of your site that are like only login. Like that remains the same.
Yeah.
But what's different is that you need to have eyes on how the AI bots are crawling your website, because if you're not being crawled, like you're not getting the answer, right? Because that's the first step. But the rest remains very similar to SEO. The second layer is basically the evergreen, right?
Yeah.
And that's content. Content can be your blog.
Yeah.
It can be a LinkedIn article.
And you said this, I think, in sort of a theme, which I thought was kind of interesting, was a relating to content that sort of the rise of PR, which I thought was interesting.
PR.
Now, how are you defining PR in this context?
Opposed to SEO, where you have link building and you need a link back to your site, and a lot of PR firms didn't do it. They wasn't part of the deal.
Yeah.
AI, if they just mention your brand, that's good enough. And think about it, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
So PR is serving two things: get like the credibility within a specific industry, because that's what publications do.
Yeah.
But then giving a signal of authority to AI engines.
The authority play is very important, because you're basically it signals from other domains that are trustworthy, high authority domains, which is an SEO play. Right. It's like when like the classic SEO play is like, get published in academic websites or journals, get published in government oriented, because all those have very high authority. And then those links drive the authority to your own domain. Right.
agencies.
Yeah.
What we help them with, like we are not experts in PR.
Yeah.
In terms of what to create, how the brand, how the connections. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
But we're partnering with the experts, giving them data-driven recommendations. Because if we already decided, hey, we're going to track these 100 prompts, and we track them and we analyze what are the domains that are being read to come to the response, and then from there we see the publishers. That's a way to justify why those publishers.
Yeah.
Instead of like PR has been a very gut feeling, you know.
Yeah, and I think of PR, I mean, I think this is it's sort of worth the time to sort of define, because PR, this isn't, you know, your dad's or grandfather's PR of just put out a press release on the on PR Newswire, right? That's got some kind of flowery messaging and language around a particular product. Because what I've noticed is, you know, it's much more than that. It's a full content strategy, and then that content strategy becomes technical. Right, because the technical elements behind it, you know, build authority, domain authority. What I've noticed generally in my background, and I've worked and been schooled certainly in PR and communications. It's not what I've focused on from a core competency perspective, but what I've noticed is that oftentimes you get, you know, the PR people are like the journalists, the English majors, the liberal arts majors, and they tend to not be the technical people.
Right.
Right. And so they're very good at sort of understanding how to deliver a message that's going to have some sort of impact.
And build a relationship.
And
so PR is not even paying money. You got to like build a relationship.
Yeah.
Invite them to a hotel. You got to like,
yeah.
It's experiential. So
Yeah, it sort of changes that definition of being like, hey, this isn't just about content that we're putting out, but there's a technical component that's going to drive some sort of visibility within LLMs, visibility within Google search. So it's almost like you could fold in SEO and say, hey, if you're PR that's implementing advanced AEO, advanced SEO, that's where the play is in my mind. It's a much more technical play, and it's tied to content. But
think about it this way: PR has always been niche. The pitch from a PR article, it's for a very like a specific audience. It has credibility, but it's not like a mass play.
Yeah.
But the moment that piece of PR is influencing the response, that reach grows exponentially.
Yeah.
So that's really what we see, and like
we'll call it technical PR, right?
Technical PR or data-driven PR. And imagine that then it's programmatic. That'll be great.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna happen soon. But if anybody's having ideas, that's one.
Yeah. This isn't, you know, there's the publicist PR. I was at a dinner last night at Nobu, and
great.
you know, and a client was uncomfortable because that the client of this particular PR agency was sitting next to a journalist from AdExchanger, and felt uncomfortable enough where he needed, and this is what a publicist in a sense does, a traditional PR publicist is needed to be shadowed by it's almost like having a lawyer with you when you're in a deposition, right? So I wanted to be shadowed. So this is a very senior guy.
So
yeah, well, and so that nothing was being said. I mean, obviously he can control what he says, but he wanted to basically set Chatham House rules, right? Meaning this nothing leaves this group, or, you know, and that's generally an understanding when you're out for dinners and drinking.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I always found that an interesting play, and I never was quite into doing that myself. But the idea of shadowing someone, that's your old sort of traditional PR, like your publicist play, like this is going to be off the record. This is on the record, right? Like, you know, journalists, you're sitting next to executive, you cannot use this. This is off the record, right?
Imagine having an agent that does that for you.
Yeah.
Before you publish
This is a whole nother realm. I mean, it really ties into almost a brand strategy. It could be
right, like what content you're gonna write about. You gotta answer the question that you want to be writing.
Yep.
But you also have to provide value, because I think the fact that we're writing for bots doesn't mean that we're not writing for humans, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a balance between like, everything is just automated technology and like the human touch, because that matters still.
Oh, totally.
In a world full of AI stuff,
it
matters even more.
Yeah.
So I think that,
and we talked about that. That's a really interesting point. Is the AI slop play, because you were talking about how publishers, right? Like the changing ecosystem for publishers, right? And we've talked a lot about on the pod about the open web, how there's certainly a walled garden sort of takeover of a lot of paid media and a lot of content. and you've got this open web of a long tail of publishers. There's premium publishers, there's mid tail publishers, and there's a long tail, and they're fighting to stay relevant, but they're also dealing with a lot of like automated domain creation, domain spoofing, recipe sites that are all AI generated.
Scraping their sites without paying.
Yeah.
No, I think being a publisher has always been challenged because they had to like many publishers that went from print to digital, and like it's been changing for them at the speed of life with programmatic, with like everything, and now with AI, it's scraping and not paying.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how Reddit actually got a really chunk a part of the pie.
Yeah.
And they made a bunch of money licensing.
Yeah.
New York Times did it.
Yeah. And with Reddit, like it kind of almost goes without saying at this point, but I remember a period where when you conducted just any sort of search, either an LLM interaction or a Google search, I remember days when Reddit was hardly visible. Like I'd have to go directly to the domain generally to check out Reddit conversations. Now it's overwhelming the amount of Reddit references that you're seeing
on the automations and the bots from Reddit are real.
Right.
So Reddit does a really good job on getting rid of automations and bots. They fill some of it because now people see value on it because they know Reddit is not in every industry, but in some industries, it's shaping the response.
Yeah.
People are just spamming Reddit.
Well, but it's shaping the response. Yeah, they're spamming Reddit in gaming. I'd like to talk about that, but Reddit's certainly risen from a visibility perspective,
from a cultural perspective and a graphic perspective.
Yeah,
like things like Wall Street Bets. They like Reddit was. I mean, it's always been there, but it's never. Like Reddit started coming to possible since last year.
Yeah,
before they didn't even have ads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so what do you think the downside of sort of Reddit being a primary source? And I've done some analysis that shows what are the primary sources for the LLMs when I was doing some sort of AEO geo analysis, right? And how do they break up between Wikipedia, YouTube, Reddit, these kind of key sources of information where it's pulling from? And I think there's a general distrust that like, hey, if this information is coming from Reddit, and Reddit is a hearsay, it's a bunch of conversations being happened, it's not fully validated authoritative content in all cases.
Look, I
does that pollute the
answers? My answer is more like, don't go and take any action based on a study that ran across a whole industry and it tells you Reddit and Wikipedia number one. Because that's not your business. That's the first thing. Like, go and get the citations that matter for your industry. You'll be surprised because depending on the industry, I've seen TripAdvisor, I've seen Quora, I've seen Medium, I've seen articles. So I think there's no silver bullet. And the AEO, geo space, I'll be honest, it's full of people trying to make money quick.
It's
like anything that's new, right?
And it seems like there's going to be a consolidation. There is a lot of smoke and mirrors, right, where they're really just SEO shops or link building shops, right, that are sort of repositioning themselves with kind of the next shiny object, the next wave. They gotta filter through the crap, right?
I feel that they have a silver bullet that's AI. Right? Like AI, right? And I think it's not just like that. I think, AI is great. I use it every day, but I also realize the risks and the strategy you need behind it. Like let's say the thing we read it, like we as humans tend to think that everything has like a one solution. It's not true. And we know this deep inside. We know that it takes hard work.
No, and
that is on your data.
That
not on others' data, because that's
and that's critical. And we've talked a lot about with a bunch of different people from product leaders, et cetera, on the pod around how AI is not doing prompts or having conversations with ChatGPT. There's an architectural layer, right, where you're and you're really building. You're trying to build kind of an AGI in a sense, right? And you're building a memory system, right? And what you provide it with from a memory system, from a control and management system, and a governance system, which is your markdown files, that stuff's critical in order to get the accuracy and the outputs that you want from it, right? And to have it grow and develop closer to what we think of as intelligence, right?
I'll give you my take on AI and my own experience using it for the last 2 years. One is that context is king.
Yep, 100%.
prompting matters, but not as much as context.
Yeah.
If your company wants to really leverage AI, start by organizing your data in markdown files in ways that is connected. Create your own MCP connector.
Yep.
So you can actually ask Claude, hey, go on, check out the database and bring me this information.
Yep.
That's for me the MCP connectors and the connectors in general on ChatGPT that you can actually connect to Notion or Google Drive or anything.
Yeah.
That's what really makes AI powerful, because you stop copy pasting to actually having AI things for you.
Yeah, and that can be just from an individual agentic workflow perspective, right? And that's really important for people to understand. Is like, projects and prompts, that's at a very surface level. But once you start giving it that instruction booklet, which is your markdown files, your repos, your repositories, right? And you start giving like an instruction booklet that covers everything on how it should behave, which they call the soul. Right, how it should behave, rules of engagement, guardrails, governance, and then with writing, it can be narrative structure. You can get rid of all the slop that we sort of see as the AI crap.
The way I see it is like the more you use it, and that's why it's like crazy how the more you use, let's say ChatGPT, to switch is harder because the memory has been developed.
Yeah.
All your files are there.
Yeah.
The system has been created.
Yeah.
It's not that one model is better than there will be slight difference, but like the reality is where you put your time and you set up your foundations is where you should be.
Yes, that's a really critical point. How do you do that?
So I'm a Claude person.
Yeah.
Claude every day.
You Claude? Open Claude? Yeah.
No, Claude.
Claude, yeah.
Claude. I decided not to go with Open Claude because if you're not technical enough, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Prompt injection is real.
I jumped over to Hermes because of a recommendation from one of my technical friends.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I thought, so there's couple things that are important. Skills. The skills, it gets overlooked, but skills is great because you're basically teaching Claude to do a particular thing. So
Yeah.
I taught my Claude agent to use the Gemini API to create pictures.
Yep.
To use the 11 Labs API to create sounds.
Oh, we do.
I'm a Suno user. I create sounds.
We talked to 12 Labs yesterday, but they're a little different than 11 Labs. Yeah, that's about AI sort of content recognition at like a super micro metadata level. Yeah. You should talk to them. It's a really fascinating technology that they have, where the AI can start to recognize everything that's happening within a video and the context around that's outside of sort of the metadata, because it's reading the actual video text.
Because the AI has a lot of problems reading video and images.
Yeah, exactly. They're solving for that problem, which is a big problem.
That's cool. Most cool.
Yeah.
Boy, like my son talks to Google Home.
Yeah.
He's using AI at the setup.
Yeah. So you set up your Claude skills. Like I've set up.
So I have skills that are particular. It's just a way of teaching Claude how to create a presentation. There's skills that are already created by Claude.
Yep.
And there's actually a skill to create the skills.
Yeah.
Ask Claude to create the skill you want to create.
Yeah.
And then you have MCP connectors that are basically ways that you can connect to your other platforms like Google Drive, Notion, Slack.
Yeah. And Claude makes that really easy. And GPT does too as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's different types of MCPs. There's some that are like they work locally in your computer.
Yep.
And there's some that are web. I would say start with web. They're easy to install.
Yeah.
So one click.
Yeah.
If you do the,
I've done some of the local stuff, and I generally am doing that through an Open Claw or a Hermes, right? Where it's reading your entire drive, but I wanted to connect it to my source of truth.
Yeah. So for instance, what I love for my context is Notion, because Notion is like my portable brain. I record everything in Notion, and if I have to start a new session that has no context, I say, hey, go to Notion, read this file, and let's start.
Yeah.
And then when I do something, I would ask him to go and write on Notion what we did.
Yeah.
So we keep it.
And I'm using GitHub for that for that same purpose.
Same thing.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've learned is that like when I'm doing, like, let's say I'm creating some sort of template, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm creating a proposal template, or I'm creating, and I want to codify that. And I've run through this whole sort of prompt string to get it right. Either GPT or Claude, I'll use either one, right? And I want to get it right. And once I get it right, I basically say, now record everything we just talked about, it, convert it into a markdown file, and you're just telling conversationally, right? And then save it into GitHub, and it folderizes it. And so every time you create a proposal from that point forward, it's referencing the rules of engagement, the structure, the governance, the template.
So it's not
automatically.
And so people are like, why this prompt that is like like a fucking book? That doesn't work, because that's why you have context. So every time you talk to it, it's like if you talk to your best friend, because he already knows you.
Yeah. That's where I think that evolution happened for me, is where I realized that, like, my long prompts, sometimes the agent will stop thinking because it just gets totally confused because it's a multifaceted prompt. I thought, I finally started moving away from that and saying, because you're referencing something.
Already things
Yeah.
that you work with.
Yeah. Hey, go to my repo, pull out this particular, and I'm building something based on that. And they're like, okay. And it basically tells you, I will review that before we create this next proposal or this next X or Y. And I do that around article generation, content generation, commercial generation, Excel spreadsheets. It's it's all conversational. You don't need to be a Python expert to do this.
What you use or you want to switch from ChatGPT to Claude, you can do it right away.
Exactly. And that is your memory system. That is yours.
Right.
That is yours.
Google becomes a thing. Gemini.
Yeah, and one of our executive contributors, Chris Raja, he's got a company called MindMaker AI, and it's all built on the idea of capturing an executive's memory system. Yeah. So it's completely agnostic of model, right? And it's important because you can pull out your ChatGPT projects and prompt history. Yeah, you kind of have to annotate it and put it into Claude, but it hallucinates and it'll export something that's slightly or maybe even very different than what you originally had within and so he was like, I saw this issue with bringing stuff over to Claude from GPT or vice versa, where it just kind of broke. Yeah. Right. And so you're losing all of this time and effort that you've put into building, structuring. And I'm like, get into GitHub, or Notion, and start building down your.
The way we have it in our company, GitHub is only between Dan and me, and that's confidential stuff that only the owners have.
Yeah.
Notion we share with the rest of the employees.
Yeah.
The thing about Notion is that it's easier to read and edit.
Yeah.
Like GitHub feels developer.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and you can't really write your own markdown file. You got to be like, I always mess it up. I'm like, what is the syntax here that I'm up, because it's all text and it's lines. And so I just have GPT or Claude create it for me, right? Like, so it doesn't break when it gets uploaded. Yeah,
that's great. Like how are we changing these systems that before you had to log in?
Yeah,
now you're like the new SaaS. It's gonna be agentic. It has to connect to the tools and allow you to, through prompts, move things. And I think that's funny because a lot of the companies are investing on their own chatbot.
Yeah.
Instead of investing on how they connect to the chatbot that the people actually use.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not going to go to, like, they say HubSpot and use a chatbot. Like, I'm not going to HubSpot with ChatGPT and then play from there.
Yeah. So what do you think organizations have to do? I mean, we talked about kind of personally how it's changed our own work lives, right? And how we've set us up, and you've leveraged this to help build Avo. And how do you think organizations can best roll this kind of stuff out?
I started my career at Mediacom. Then I worked for Publicis 7 years.
Yep.
Latam, the US as well.
Yep.
And then I worked with an independent agency called Promote.
Yep.
And after that, my final agency was Hearts and Science.
Yep.
And look, the game, and I know this is kind of old fashioned at these days because it's not AI, but it's the holding company versus the independent agency.
Yeah. And it's certainly a topic I've been diving in a lot recently.
So I think in the age of AI, independent agencies have an advantage.
Yeah.
Because it's about being fast.
Yeah. And it's also about that. It's about that architectural layer. They're building out their tech stack from the ground up.
It's easier to start something new than to rebuild something. And look, the holding companies to their advantage. Like, they have the big clients, and those big clients require more security, require more. There's more rigor, right?
Yeah.
And there's low by definition.
Yeah.
And I think in a moment where, like, between you and me, next week I don't know what's gonna happen, man.
Yeah.
In that reality, I think holding companies are meant to fail if they don't change drastically what they're doing, because speed matters. Yeah,
and speed matters, and speed humans slow down. Complex organizations, let's put it that way. Complex matrix organizations that are sort of human capital based, FTE based, right? When you have an independent, they can come in with a much nimbler team whose ability to execute is compounded because they're AI native and tech native, right? So because I think the challenge with independence before some of these capabilities came into play, AI capabilities, was they couldn't scale quickly enough because they didn't have the FTE, the human capital, in order to manage these massive accounts. Holdcos had that advantage. Now that table's been switched, right? You don't need 3,000 people to run your commerce media division, right?
That is true. And look, I think the holding companies had the advantage of leveraging negotiation power.
Yeah.
There's no
Principle-based buying.
there's no independent agency that can buy better deals than holding companies. That's not
Yeah.
even on programmatic.
Well, it's
There
because
are
it's
some good deals that the holding companies get.
And they're leveraging debt. They're saying, hey, we have the capital in order to invest, $18 billion in this entire this entire multimedia buy, right? And then you're dividing that up between your clients. That's principle-based buying.
Also, the holding companies will open doors for things like sports marketing, sponsorships, for things that are outside of the box, placements that are like custom made. I think that's their power. Where they lost the battle a long time ago is on performance marketing.
Interesting.
Independent agencies are
yes, and we're talking to some right now. And with this whole notion of moving towards sort of outcomes and drives, like how are you actually?
Because look, when you're on D and like people know you. When you're at the new shop on the court,
you better prove
you gotta show ROI.
Yeah, the rubber meets the road. Yeah. Yeah,
that's not gonna work.
And that's an inherent advantage where it's like reach is not good enough anymore, right? Like, hey, I get cheap reach to an infinite amount of inventory and audience, right? So, a certain percentage of that may not be real. Independents are like, hey, it's not about raw just reach. It's about actually how do you drive kind of precision and results. Yeah.
And I think that Google and Meta, by the way, Meta didn't show up. Shame on you. You come to Possible. Second year that
Meta didn't show up at Possible. Impossible for those that aren't here, has in the last 3 years. Yeah.
But Meta.
And everybody, it used to be very ad tech oriented. It's much broader from a tech perspective, but it's also much broader from an agency perspective. There's a lot more holding companies here.
And also a lot of independent agencies. I've seen this year from Seattle, from Utah. It's cool to meet these guys, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, this has been an awesome conversation. I think we could go on forever, and I'm getting the clock here because we've got more podcasts to run. But hey, Sebastian, it was great.
My man.
We should definitely talk if you're in New York City. We should hook up.
So tell us a little bit about what we're gonna do this interview.
Yeah. So we're gonna publish this on YouTube, www.signalandnoise.ai. And then we're gonna publish a collection of these episodes for each day. We're gonna do the individual episodes. So you and I, that'll be pushed out through multiple channels. We'll be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Back me, sure. And look, before we go, congrats on the beer, man. You guys got something.
Thanks, everybody.